I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers, and this is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers and Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at texasfootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express, it makes you feel good.
Don't forget about them on Thanksgiving. If you need to pick up some sides.
Ooh.
That's not bad.
That's a smart play.
That is really smart.
Yeah. No, I might have to.
Or like, especially like appetizers.
We've got a family call tomorrow to discuss like the.
Dude, that is serious.
Coming in for a landing.
You are not lying. You weren't joking. You guys are serious about Thanksgiving.
Oh, I have a whole. I have a whole Word
down.
document.
Yeah, dude. You think I'm some fly by night, dude? No. Thanksgiving's my Super Bowl.
I'm going with we're trying the Greenberg turkey this year for the.
Nice.
Okay.
So
all right. I will need a review.
We didn't do the Cajun turkey that you recommended. We did try the Greenberg, and thanks to Texas assistant coach Chris Gilbert for pointing me in the right direction. Hopefully.
What a weird life we lead. This week in recruiting, Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. Let's go to 2023 Lake Belton safety and outside linebacker Juveon Wilcox. He's got a couple of in-state offers this week from UTSA and SMU. There's a lot of things you may not have heard of in this sentence. One of them is Juveon Wilcox, which is fine. Just a junior this year, still kind of rising up the recruiting charts. But also Lake Belton, the newest program down there in Central Texas. But he is a guy who can help put this young program on the map.
We had Lake Belton head coach Brian Cope on a few weeks back to kind of talk about his program, which direction they were going in. And Wilcox was one of those guys who really jumped out to me on tape, and he agreed that he was going to be a big-time guy. And now it's nice to start to see some of those offers start to come in. UTSA and SMU are very perceptive and seem to get a head start on some of the fast-rising talent in the state of Texas. And Wilcox, I think he's got 2 offers. Just people who are going to look at the recruiting notebook this week and see his photo may just offer him based on his physical attributes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this dude is fearsome. And he plays that way on tape. He's a headhunter at safety who probably has the size and frame to move up into the box at the next level. And I think that's where colleges are starting to look at him. And if you want to read more on Juveon Wilcox, we have some comments from Coach Cope, who kind of gives a deeper dive on what he's bringing to the table in this week's notebook.
Yeah, that is a name to know. There is Juveon Wilcox. They call him Boom.
But yeah, isn't that a great,
excellent
good.
defensive nickname? Yeah, like I feel like if you're a quarterback and your nickname's Boom, that's not necessarily
Not
amazing.
same.
No.
But if you're a safety and your nickname's Boom,
Love it.
things are going well for you. Let's get to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week is Julian Humphrey, the Clear Lake cornerback, who is a DCTF 4-star prospect. He's the number 20 in our Dave Campbell's Texas Football Hot 100, which you can find at texasfootball.com/recruiting. He has committed to Georgia. He had offers. He was most seriously considering Texas A&M and LSU, but he decides to go with the number 1 team in the land presently, the Georgia Bulldogs. Yeah, I mean, this strikes me as that kind of big corner that everybody's after right now, and he's certainly got all the tools to be elite.
I should have researched this, but I'm almost positive that Julian Humphrey was one of those guys who was picked in the class of 2022 top 25 DCTF Rising magazine back in circa 2018, maybe something like that. So he's been a name who's been on our radar for a while now, and he played both ways at Clear Lake before really settling in as a cornerback recruit at the next level. He racked up over 30 offers throughout the recruiting process, and he's just that type of guy. You know, he was a one-time Florida commit. We profiled him a few weeks back and kind of predicted that he would end up at Georgia based on the timing of everything. And he just has the hip flexibility, the size, the speed, and just the overall ball skills to be one of those guys who could not only excel in college but excel at a program like Georgia. And I think he's a guy that we'll hear his name called on NFL draft day one day. You know, that's the type of skill that he's bringing to the table. Love the way he's grown within that program. He's a guy who knows he's good now, and that's the attitude that you have to play with entering a program like UGA that's number 1 in the country, and to lock down, you know, if you're matching up with Jamison Williams, on the other side of the football, who's going to be one of the top 2 picks probably in the draft this year. If those are the type of guys that you're matching up with week in and week out, you got to play with the chip on your shoulder. And Humphrey understands now that he has the talent to match up with anyone.
Yeah, most certainly. He is a guy certainly to keep an eye on as he's heading to the SEC with the Georgia Bulldogs. We're talking This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete, here on Texas Football Today. You can involve the conversation, #TF Today. Let's move on to our underclassmen of the week. Our underclassmen of the week, we talked about this last night at dinner. Post outside linebacker and defensive end Isaiah Crawford had a couple of days ago decommitted from Baylor. He has committed to Texas Tech. This feels like it's got Joey McGuire's fingerprints all over it, right?
I think we're going to be talking about Texas Tech a lot more. Don't you? Like I
Well,
get that feeling now. Like this is 2 weeks in a row.
Joey McGuire, we talked about it. We talked about how he strikes us as the kind of guy who is going to go out there and the guys that we really like, and we're like, hey, like those hidden gems that we think could be those stars at the next level that's not getting enough attention. He's the one who's going to mine those. And Isaiah Crawford, especially, ticks all the boxes, right? West Texas, small school, big-time playmaker. Got to keep him home, and that's what he did here.
Future DCTF 4-star Isaiah Crawford. We dropped 3 5-stars yesterday, the first 3 5-stars in the class of 2023. That was checking in at number 1, Allen defensive end DJ Hicks. Number 2, El Campo running back Ruben Owens. And number 3, Denton Ryan linebacker Anthony Hill. We're going to follow that up with some more 4-stars to be announced in the coming days, and Isaiah Crawford will be one of those names. I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler on that. At the time that he committed to Baylor, we actually reflected that this is the type of guy that Texas Tech couldn't afford to lose. Now, lo and behold, fast forward the clock a few months into the future, and he's flipped his commitment from Baylor to Texas Tech, essentially. These are the guys that they need to get. And, if Texas Tech wants to be relevant on the defensive side of the football, you can't let a superstar from West Texas go to Baylor, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a loss that you really can't afford to have. And they've picked up 5 commitments in the Joey McGuire era thus far, and 4 of those come on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that's important to note. But to me, out of all the guys that they've gained commitments from, he's the best one so far, has the most upside, could be a true speed rushing presence in that Texas Tech defense that can get after the quarterback and, be a constant pain to Big 12 offenses. So this was a huge deal, and that's why he is the underclassman of the week.
It feels like a real canary in the coal mine there for Tech of like what they want to do is a guy like this. That's the guy you gotta win. You gotta win a guy like Isaiah Crawford. If he's in your backyard and he's this kind, he ticks all those boxes. You've got to keep him home.
It's just an interesting story in Lubbock to me. They got the win last week over Iowa State. They picked up 5 recruiting wins in the first 10 to 12 days that Joey McGuire's been the head coach there. And what they've done is they've shown that they're not afraid to go after they're not afraid to go after Baylor commits where he just left, right? Like he knows that he has to compete with Baylor. Baylor's at the top of the Big 12 right now, or towards the top. And he's basically has his foot stamped down on the gas pedal right now, and they're going after everybody.
Yeah, he is certainly a star in the making there in Isaiah Crawford there at Post. Let's round it all out with our Recruit of the Week. Our Recruit of the Week, is that right? Yeah, our Recruit of the Week is Rockwall quarterback Braedyn Locke. Braedyn Locke, of course, is a longtime commit to Mississippi State. He is noteworthy this week because he is now 6A's all-time leading passer in touchdowns.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, he passed De'Aaron King in
Okay.
6A, the highest classification, rather. And he is now second in 6A. Is that right?
Yep.
Second in 6A in passing leaders as far as passing yards for a career is concerned. He's at 10,838. He is now the 30th member of the 10,000 passing yards club in Texas high school football, and 128 touchdowns is now the most in Texas high school football 6A history. Believe it ranks about, I'm doing some quick math, maybe 15th. He's 1 behind Scotty Young at Denton Ryan. But certainly a name that you should know is Rockwall quarterback Braedyn Locke. Just continues to put up big numbers.
And they have a big matchup this weekend with DeSoto. I know that that's a game that a lot of people are really excited to see the outcome of, pitting up 2 really explosive offenses there, right? Like that's going to be a kind of like a must-see game in the DFW area. That's one that, gosh, what do you think What are you predicting on the final score on that one?
Oh, geez. Not 10-7.
What would you set the over-under at?
Let's start at 90 and a half.
So there's going to be some points scored.
There's going to be some points. Because both these offenses are outstanding and both these defenses have been vulnerable at times.
So Locke is just one of those guys who I would describe as a smooth operator, right? He just seems to be able to make the right decisions almost all of the time, and he doesn't play under any kind of great panic. And you notice that right away during his sophomore season. He had, JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba on that team, and they beat Allen that year in the playoffs. And a lot of the accolades did go to JSN, right, because he was the number one player in the state. But they wouldn't have been in a position to knock off Allen and rack up all these victories of the last 3 seasons.
He threw for 4,300 yards that year.
Without a guy like Braedyn Locke, who showed what he was capable of at a very young age. I think Mississippi State's getting a steal in Locke. And as I told you, we're updating all the rankings list these in the next couple weeks as we prepare for the early signing period in December. He's a guy who's going to move up the list a little bit.
He's really special, and I think maybe we take him for granted. You know
I agree
what I mean?
I feel the same way. That's exactly how I feel.
I think he's a guy that because he's been around for so long, he feels like it's him. Like we take Garrett Rangel for granted. We take all these quarterbacks who are like 3-year starters. Like we're just like, oh, I think in some respects we took Demetrius Davis for granted. Like towards the end, it was like, man, that kid was super special. And it's like Braedyn Locke is super special, and he's been doing it his whole career. And a guy that at Mississippi State they're going to be pleased as punch to bring him in.
He's been giving us Texas high school football gifts now for 3 years, and he's just been fun to watch. And we will miss him when he's gone, but now he's got his name etched in stone in the Texas high school football record books.
Yeah, a guy who always brings us Texas high school football gifts is Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter. Pickle is smiling. She's laughing so hard. Next Level Athlete, Twitter, Next Level D1. See his final work, texasfootball.com/recruiting. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out texasfootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at texasfootball.com/subscribe.